Are you sitting comfortably? Then we'll begin.
August 9th. This week, Ukraine didn't just strike, they blinded Russia. Crimea's top surveillance gear is gone, and Crimea just got a lot less safe for Moscow. Trump went from U-turn to flipping a bitch. His self-declared August 8th stop the killing deadline came and went, and Russia answered with more missiles, more dead civilians, and zero concessions. The punishment? There isn't one. Instead, Putin's being rewarded with a high-profile summit in Alaska, a seat at the table, prime media coverage, and no Ukraine to challenge him. If Trump tries to concede Ukraine's territory, that's not negotiated peace. It's an electric slide into World War III. He can kiss his dreams of a Nobel Peace Prize goodbye. While the President of the United States warms up the handshakes with the Russian war criminal dictator, Ukraine's burning oil depots, wrecking rail lines, and showing Russia that their war runs on fuel and tracks both, now on fire. This is how you win this war. I'm Slavie, your co-host. This is Ukraine Update with the Shills. Let's say hello to the host. How's it going, Mr. Dawson?
Very, very full now because there's even more than that to talk about. We've got a great guest as well. Phil's back with us. Commander's back with us. I think we're going to have a good show today. I hope everybody here enjoys it. Remember, everybody, we are still doing our Car for Ukraine fundraiser. 247 out of 253. It's so close. Links will be in the live chat, link in the description, and let's see if we can't get that topped up.
Amazing.
Yes.
Sure.
So,
well, what do we say to the panel that we have today?
Yes, Commander, how's it going?
Going pretty good, all things considered.
Healing and resting, and the bionics are now integrated into the body?
That too.
Oh, fun.
And Phil, welcome back. Always happy to have you. How's it going?
Good to be here. Good. We're working on tomorrow's edition of the show, On the Edge, which we put out every Sunday at 8 p.m. local time here in Kiev. This week we have a guest on to talk about, he's a former executive at Russia's Rosatom, which is both a civilian and a military arm of the Russian government. So we're able to talk about Russia's nuclear weapons capability, as well as how they use atomic energy as a way of extortion globally, and how they're trying to monopolize uranium. And then in addition to that, he was also an advisor to the governor of Donetsk during the Minsk period. So we get to touch on that topic as well. And that should be, touch wood that nothing goes terribly wrong, technically should be available tomorrow at 8 p.m. Kiev time, which I think is 10 in LA, 10 a.m. in LA.
Perfect.
For
Cool.
sure. We'll definitely be tuning into that as well. And today also we have a new guest with us, a Latvian journalist who is also a historian and host of the Eastern Border podcast. Welcome, Chris. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Hello, folks. Yeah, I've been podcasting for 13 years now, and I'm also a journalist. Been reporting about this war since the very first day. Been to Ukraine 4 times now in total in various ways during this war. Have seen a lot of weird things. Russia hates me personally. I've been through a lot now. Finally, I'm trying to get onto this YouTube stuff. So if I sound a bit awkward, I'm sorry, guys. I'm used to being on the mic, just doing audio stuff and written work. So if I look weird and strange, I hope it's gonna be fine. But yeah, I've been working on this very, very seriously, and hope it's gonna be fine. If I'll warm in and I'll be fine in like 3 minutes. I'm just gonna get used to all this. Looking at all of you there on the streams.
Yeah, you'll settle in. No worries at all. So, Slavie, since you've done your homework so well, let's turn it to yourself to direct us through the opening waters of said conversation.
Well, why don't we? Do you want to do questions, or should we go over the top news?
Well, we should throw some news out, and we've got some of the right people for the right opinions as well. So, and then we'll settle in and get everybody more acquainted with Chris. That sounds like the better idea. Yeah.
Sounds good. Well, this week kind of started with Witkoff visit to the Kremlin. He met with Putin for about 3 hours. Both sides called it productive, but no ceasefire agreed, no troop rollback, only vague talk of an air truce and strategic cooperation. Sanctions threat technically still on the table, but not really, because now we have a Trump and Putin meeting coming up in Alaska in person. Trump confirmed a one-on-one meeting with Putin. This will be on August 15th in Alaska. I mean, he hinted it could involve territory swaps. I think by swaps, he means he's going to try to give Ukraine's territory to Putin. That's not happening. By the way, Zelensky was not invited. No Ukrainian delegation was invited to this. Yeah, it's very infuriating news. Basically useless, the most useless meeting, and yeah,
it's a waste of jet fuel. There's no point if Ukraine isn't at the table. There's no point.
Yep. Russia's demands still haven't changed. They want recognition of Russian sovereignty over Crimea, Donetsk, Luhansk, Zaporozhye, and Kherson, where they don't even have it. They couldn't get it militarily. They want permanent demilitarization of Ukraine. So that means no modern weapons, no long-range strike capability, and no defense capability. Termination of all Western military aid. This is completely cutting off Ukraine's lifeline, basically. Obviously, no NATO membership or security guarantees, leaving Ukraine completely exposed. And politically neutral Ukraine, basically they want to get Zelensky out and install some kind of Russian puppet.
Yeah.
And yeah, put it simply, Russia's idea of peace is Ukraine rolling over dead, disarmed, abandoned, and amputated.
Mhm.
It's rather reminiscent of the 1938 Munich Accords, where Britain and Germany got together and decided, yeah, Czechoslovakia, you can have part of it. Never brought the Czechs in on the discussion.
Yeah.
It's gonna also the Minsk 1 and 2 in 2014 and 15 in Istanbul. The same thing happened. Russia has like repeatedly used talks to freeze its gains and consolidate power and rearm for future offensives, basically.
Well, even more than that, I mean, I've been out there, out into, Donbass and out into the east. And what they're actually also asking for is and I apologize if I'm stating stuff that's obvious to folks who do pay close attention to this, but there's a series of cities that run along a line. They're so-called Ukraine's fortress cities, and this includes places like Kupiansk, Slaviansk, of course, Kramatorsk. I know I'm forgetting a couple, but these are places where the Ukrainians have been building defenses for a decade.
Mhm.
I mean, really since 2014, and especially since the full-scale invasion. And if you drive out there, you see it. It is. And Commander, I'll defer to you as the professional. I'm just a hack journalist who studies military science and has been to a war or two. But what I can say is that what it is they've got strategic defense in depth. And what that means is a series of trench lines, tank traps, kill zones, and it's just mile after mile after mile of this stuff that they have dug into the earth, reinforced with the concrete, put in razor wire, built proper defenses. And what, aside from asking for the oblasts, the Russians seem to be asking to acquire those territories, which would mean like years and years of preparation for defense would disappear overnight. And they would find themselves on the other side of those defenses, those fortress cities that I mentioned.
Right.
And then that means there's far less, because they're continually building these defenses up to the river, basically. And what the Russians seem to be doing, and aside from all these other things, is that they're asking Ukraine to basically, hey, all those defenses you've been building for 10 years, let's just skip over those. Give those to us. And all the effort that you put into defending those territories would be gone, as I say, overnight. And then we would find ourselves on the left bank of the river, and 2, 3, 5, 10, whatever years from now, we basically just skipped over all your defenses.
Yeah.
It's totally unacceptable. Kiev will never accept it. The Ukrainian people will never accept it. And it would be a suicidal thing to do. So I agree with you, Dick. I think this whole thing is some sort of kabuki theater, maneuvering.
It's propaganda.
Sorry, go ahead, Commander. Yeah, it is.
No, it's propaganda. It's, we're trying to appear, we being the Russians, we're trying to appear as if we're, we want peace. We want the horrible fighting to stop. We're the good guys, and it's only the Ukrainians that are the bad guys by wanting the fighting to continue. Because nobody digs deeper, as you just explained, into the fact that if they give the Russians everything they're demanding, they're basically committing suicide.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And just like Phil said, it's unacceptable to everyone on every level.
Yeah.
I have some
comments on this.
Yeah, go for it, Chris.
Chris, please. Yeah.
Yeah, because what I do to people who haven't listened to my show, and I just literally started this YouTube stuff. I sit on all the Zed Vatnik channels on Telegram, all of them. The people who are the ideological guys who support all this stuff, and I read and translate what they say about this. Because when they comment on things, these are the people, for example, like Ernest and Goodwin, who died, who were the lead drone operators and all this stuff, like Maxim Kalashnikov, Roy, all these people who are there, who are also right now being hated by Putin, but who are actively supporting the army and volunteering. And here's what they have to say about these negotiations. One is Alex Parker Returns, quite a big channel. He has about 150,000 subscribers on Telegram. And he wrote, "For those who still don't understand what's going on, it seems that Pipa, as he mockingly calls Putin, has really been exposed. Now, in the best case scenario, we can expect a freeze along the line of contact. I'm confident that now the most favorable and optimistic scenario, that's from the Russian perspective, or from the soldiers, is a freeze along the line of contact, plus the liberation of the entire Donetsk People's Republic. At the same time, the DPR will be liberated under an air truce without the use of aircraft, missile strikes, or even kamikaze drones. This is the end." And then the second one, which I found really interesting, comes from a person called Voyenkor Kotionok, or War Corp Kitty. He's also one of the very active people. He, I think, was even in Putin's personal pool, who got invited in these big talks where Putin said a lot of stupid things. And he has a lot of, he's a long text, but I just gonna read to you the conclusion that he makes after he analyzes all these talks. And he's literally, up there, and he's been, I think this guy was involved in Kursk region, specifically gathering donations for them. But again, he talks from the Russian perspective, and he's not as happy as the Russian propaganda makes it seem. Quote, "The president, that is Putin, has made it clear on more than one occasion that we will not allow ourselves to be deceived again. I sincerely hope that no one will slow down the Russian regiments again, especially for reasons of peacefulness, truce, etc. Practice shows that as soon as any talking head in the West, be it Trump, Macron, or some other sodomite, starts talking about peace, you can expect dirty tricks and dirty deeds designed to fool the Russians, deprive them of the advantages and initiative they have gained in battle, and ultimately leaving them with nothing."
Wow.
Yeah, and that's a lot. Like, these people who are volunteers who donate for the Russian side, they have become massively disillusioned in this area, because there's meat assaults, as they call them. They've been putting in jail. And one of these guys, who was one of these ideological idiots who had been active since 2014, Murs, he was contributing to their communications, and then he had to shoot himself. Girkin's in prison. Another guy got arrested. Even the people's governor of Donetsk. Even that guy, even he's now utterly disillusioned of this. But yeah, there's a lot of this. They just don't believe in Putin, and to the point where basically they're not exactly happy about this. For example, here's a channel from one of the mobilized. He runs the channel Volt 8, because gamification goes on strong here, and he writes. "Refusing to carry out airstrikes on Ukraine would be idiocy on the highest order. Maybe we should take up bows and arrows and let the Ukrainian armed forces fight with their automatic weapons. Any air truce will slow down the Russian army's advance, allowing the Ukrainians," well, he says the other word, which is the rude one, "to stabilize the front and build new fortifications. All this talk of an air truce is a direct betrayal of Russia's national interests." And these guys are read by actual Russian soldiers on the ground, because these guys actually deliver them all the equipment. Imagine about the morale, because what Solovyov says on his stuff on TV, and what's actually happening, and what the soldiers, Russian soldiers on the ground, are thinking and feeling, very different things. A lot.
Wow.
What worries me about this meeting is that it hands Putin a propaganda win at home, so the proof of his special operation forced the U.S. president to negotiate on his terms. Also, it's a diplomatic weapon abroad, painting Russia as reasonable, while Ukraine becomes the spoiler if it refuses surrender terms, which Zelensky came out already last night and said that this is not happening. We're not surrendering.
Yeah, go blow donkeys. We're not playing that, you know.
His famous line that Ukraine is not a salad.
Yeah.
I just read about a counter offer that Zelensky and the EU made, but I haven't seen the details there yet.
Oh, here, I can show you if you watch the big screen where we're at right now. I do believe this was Zelensky's counteroffer.
You suck!
By the way, in negotiations, presidents don't negotiate peace. They sign after the negotiations are done. They just show up to sign the document. So Trump is very stupid for running into Putin's arms and doing this meeting. It's not very leadership-like. That's not how negotiations even are done, basically.
Yeah.
Generally not. Yeah. Yeah. No, I've seen enough of these things, these kind of diplomatic efforts that it takes months, and it's the apparatchiks, and it's the guys who sit down around tables and they go over meticulously every line on the map and every period and comma, and translations have to be checked and double checked. And what we're going to see in Alaska is a bunch of absolute amateurs in the form of the American delegation, because of course Trump in his first administration had a massive sweep within the State Department in particular of anybody who was a Russia expert. So we're going to have people like Witkoff, and we're going to have people like Trump, and we're going to have these, even Marco Rubio, who, has said good things in the past, but is not a Russia expert. He always was belligerent about Russia. He always saw the threat, and that, of course, has changed since he's come into the administration. But he was never somebody who was an expert. I mean,
no, he's more the guy that reaches for his belt buckle out of sheer habit every time Trump rocks into the room.
Well, yeah, or I mean, like, you got Lindsey Graham and Kellogg. I don't know if Kellogg is going to be there, but even in my estimation, and I don't mean any real disrespect towards Keith Kellogg, but Keith Kellogg is not William Taylor. Keith Kellogg is not Miri Ivanovich. These were the people that we need on our team now, and we have people who are going to be totally outclassed by Lavrov and Peskov and all the people that are going to be coming to Alaska. It's going to, and as you mentioned, Commander, it's kabuki theater. It's meant for performance. It's meant for consumption by take your pick, domestically,
political Broadway.
Yeah,
it's a photo op.
Unless they send Medinsky, because Medinsky is just extremely dumb, and that was just when in the last some sort of negotiations in Turkey, I suppose, when the Russian side sent Medinsky, then everyone on the Russian-speaking internet was just laughing their asses off because Dmitry Medinsky has no influence and even less brains than I would say than even. I think he'd be slightly dumber than Rubio. Yeah.
Well, a lot dumber. This is the guy that says Russians have an extra chromosome, so they're like the best.
Oh God.
Yeah, this guy's.
That was the extra chromosomes
Sounds
thing.
like Dugin.
Excellent. Oh, Dugin is also ridiculous, but he also managed to have I think it was either him or Rogozin who basically showed Russia's technological advantage in some science field by literally drowning a little puppy in front of, and everyone from the West and the other companies were just shocked at some point. He did this in 2018. They're not very logical people, or at all logical.
Gave Kristi Noem ideas for her political future.
Yeah.
True that.
So what else should we dig into there, Slavie? 24 minutes in, cover another news topic, and then dig into...
This is a really important one to mention and get it out there, and it's Russia's slave catalog of Ukrainian children. So Russia has moved from physical abduction to digital trafficking, publishing a chilling catalog of stolen Ukrainian children, complete with photos and traits for viewing and adoption. Many of these kids still have living parents. They're not orphans, but Russia have now had their identities erased and being rebranded with Russian documents. It's more than adoption. Basically, it's a weaponized erasure of identity labeled by Ukraine's Save Ukraine. That's as a 21st century slave market. That's what it looks like. The scale is staggering. Tens of thousands of stolen children, and only a few thousand have returned, were able to get returned back to Ukraine. And also, the ICC arrest warrants have been issued, by the way, to Putin. That's exactly why he's wanted, was for stealing children. Meanwhile, he'll be on American soil parading with, well, Trump will be parading him, but
yeah. I mean, that should be the moment right there where he's grabbed, but it's never going to happen.
Yeah. And
Trump will
these
probably give him
children,
some golden trinket.
this catalog, it's made me sick just to look at it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's like photos, personalities. They're filtered by age, hair color, eye color, gender, and even to like, are they how obedient they are, or how calm they are. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's Orwellian. I mean, it really is. It is literally Orwellian. They dress the little girls up in their school uniforms with their ponytails, and it's just deeply, deeply disturbing. And the thing that's makes it even more, and that's bad enough. I'm with you, Slavie. It was very difficult to look at.
Wow.
It just looking at it made me feel really uncomfortable and very disturbed. But the fact that they're proud of it, they have responded to the criticism in the West of this website, this thing that they're using to, kind of,
it's like the home shopping for child labor channel, right?
Yeah, on the buyer's block. It's the old buyer's block back in antebellum South. I mean, not to be too graphic, but it really is like you'd expect them to be checking their teeth. It's disgusting. But what makes it even worse in my mind, not that that's not bad enough, is that they're proud of it. They're proud of it. Their response to the criticism has been, we are trying to save these children. How dare you criticize us? We're trying to do this good thing by
monsters
finding these children. It's literally, and I don't want to get too graphic here, but it is like the old slavers block in the South, where they're like, we'll give them a good home in the big house, on the plantation, or, we'll house them and home them. And when what you're really doing is a crime against humanity.
I have those.
Actually, genocide.
I have those pictures available. I can share my screen maybe so that you can see.
Yeah, go ahead. We can. I can have it on the screen on the show instantly. Here.
Gird yourself. It's not.
Are you going to show? Oh no! Don't. Why?
Well, this comes from Denis Kazansky's Telegram channel. So he posts about this. This is from the administration of Luhansk Oblast. And by the way, but this isn't surprising because they really love their serfdom stuff. A couple of days ago, one of their oligarchs made a kind of a Renaissance fair, except it involved him gathering a bunch of people and making them dress up like serfs to do this natural old school Russia serf market. It's going to be great for them. It's entertainment. And a couple of years ago, one of their kind of businessmen sold a thing. Yeah, and here's this thing, and here you can fill up the data. It's like name, sex. It's like doesn't matter, male, female, age from 0 to 17, brothers and sisters. This choices doesn't matter. Eye color, hair color, videostrojstva, some special markings or how are you gonna put them in the home? Yeah, you can search for them, and they have a database and everything, and 294 kids.
I don't know. I honestly wouldn't parade
It's a
this
war crime.
website around. I wouldn't
Yeah,
even
no.
show it, actually.
I don't have it on the screen anymore. A little bit was enough. That's
Everything. This comes
You
from
get
a
the point.
Ukrainian. This comes from a Ukrainian guy, Denis Kazansky, who he gathers the evidence for all these horrible war crimes, and I'm working with him just to so that we would have physical evidence at one point, so that it wouldn't be lost.
Look, there was a reason why the very first episode of On the Edge was Michaela Kuleba with Save Ukraine. This look, Russia's crimes in this conflict and beyond are reprehensible enough. I am not meaning to belittle the awful conduct of Russia, Russian soldiers, et cetera, but there's something about the way they're doing this with the children of Ukraine that it's beyond the pale. It's just it in a modern 21st century world to be treating these children like literally slave labor, or
or worse,
or pets, or all just what we saw there, and it is enough to see what we saw there. I don't think we can shield our eyes away from it, but I agree with you, Slavie. We shouldn't be giving it too much oxygen, but we need to know what we're up against here, and this is what we're up against. This is the kind of mentality, and again, to reiterate, they're not ashamed. They're proud.
Exactly.
They're very, very proud of this.
Oh yeah, this mentality thing is what I'm trying to explain to Westerners the most, because they a lot of academical people and more mainstream journalists, they think it's not important or something. They don't pay attention to this much. But your point about mentality is exactly what I have been trying to do the most on my show, to deliver this message, because this has to be explained, I think.
Yeah,
makes sense.
This is a in the civilized world under the Geneva Convention. This is genocide under the 1948 Genocide Convention, due to forced transfer of children with intent to destroy cultural identity.
Yeah.
By definition, genocide.
Yeah.
They've been doing this even in Soviet. I mean, my grandma. I come from a family of half Baltic German, half Polish, Ashkenazi Jews. Typical Baltic people. But basically, yeah, my grandmother, my grandfather, after whom I've named, he was a Lutheran pastor, and he had a horrible time in the Soviet era during all the deportations and everything. And in a lot of cases, when even in Stalin's era, when they sent people away, their crime was just Latvian. Just that's it. And if you want to know how it's like, I mean, look at Belarus today. The Lukashenko through this has just exterminated everything to the point that even the language is being erased. I don't know why I don't see this comparison more often, but think about what the British did to the Irish language and that stuff. That's what's going on, except worse and even more brutal.
Talk to a Crimean Tatar.
Amen. Very much so.
Yeah, and
our enemy.
I'm sorry about the rough text and everything. It's just that
it's fine.
I have become so jaded.
No.
We don't hold back around here. We don't hold back around here.
I get it.
I got a couple of shout outs we can do, and we'll do the fireworks for it. Yay! See, we got fireworks. Everybody clap and applaud. There we go. So we had SSW Custom Sewing come in. Thanks everybody for showing up today, and that's $3.33 into the old boom fund. Thanks there, SSW Custom Sewing. That's awesome. And we also had Taste de la Kuna, or however the hell I'm supposed to say that. Crimea is Ukraine, and I couldn't agree more. Well said. Another applause round there, I think. You know what? Let's hit the fireworks as well. Slavie, any shout outs and acknowledgments to join in with?
Not yet.
Yeah, slow moving day, but we'll get it going here. Because remember, we've also got our summer sunshine truck fund with Car for Ukraine. It's almost done. Oh, here, before I finish here, just let me take you through a couple of pictures. Here is some pictures from Sergey, European Resilience Initiative Center. Remember Eric Sergey there? He's doing a truck run right now with Car for Ukraine. Here's some other pictures. There's you'll see some, there's all the logos there and whatnot, lots of names and stuff. Another one here, another one. There's such ominous. Yeah. And they're almost in service right now. I think they're in Ukraine and they're just being, gathered up by those that should have them. So, well done, everybody. Well done. Second round of fundraising is almost done. We'll get the link in the live chat for you.
Well, we have a question coming in. It's from Wizard of Ooze. Saying, I wonder, is putting the child sales market up this week a dig at Trump's links to Epstein and his trafficking activities?
Interesting little connection there. I didn't catch that. That's a good one. That's a good one.
Something to ponder.
Even if it's only a little bit, sure, because, all's fair in love and war, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Also, we have a question from Cheryl. What I want to know is what Trump is getting in exchange for Alaska. I'm with his bestie.
Probably gets permission to build a golf course in Moscow or something.
Yeah.
In his mind, that's a fair trade.
Yeah. I can tell you there's going to be some serious uproar from Canadians if Alaska becomes anything other than owned by North America.
I think because I'm almost sure that Russia has compromised on Trump. For sure. Wow. And I think maybe a lot of it is about Epstein files saying if Trump doesn't do, like, blackmailing Trump, if you don't do this.
Yeah. I think they do have really good stuff on them. And I think that's where the South Park boys got that really accurate picture of his little penis.
That's not a secret, the tiny penis. I think it was it Stormy Daniels?
Yeah.
She told us.
Right, that it's a tiny mushroom.
Yeah. I just can't have mushrooms on pizza anymore at all now after that one. Just think of it as a little sliced up Donald on your pizza. No way.
Also, we have a question from Subtle Knife. Is asking who is Russia bringing in their delegation? Same as ones in Turkey? No,
I'm not sure.
The ones in Turkey, they were like low-level diplomats that were sent on purpose to be on low level because.
Yeah,
it's Russia, but if Putin is going, it's most likely going to be, Lavrov, the whole Mordor gang.
That's what you would think, right? He'll bring his, right and left arm general type, whatever folk, Oh
yeah, he'll bring his posse, and again, the whole thing is a setup for a photo op. It's to show that Trump is so needy that he has to have Putin come and reassure him that they still want peace, that kind of thing.
Yeah. And internally, this also would show the Russian population. It's going to be massive propaganda win for Putin. He's going to show that he's in the United States. He's just not isolated and everything. That's also going to happen pretty definitely. But But who are they going to send? I think Nyebenji is also going to be there. He's the freakiest United Nations guy. Just I don't even know how he still functions there. But yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, this whole time, Putin didn't want to meet with Trump until a couple of days ago. So Putin and Russia, knowing that, because they need time, right? They need to do something. They're like, okay, let's use this card now. Trump, let's do a meeting with you. And of course, Trump runs. But yeah, this whole time, Putin didn't want to see Trump.
Well, I think we're also ignoring the fact that Trump is desperately seeking for ways to distract his base from the whole Epstein crisis.
Yeah.
So anything he can throw up on the news that's something other than Epstein is good for him. And I think that's what this is kind of a, hey, Vlad, I need some help. Can you help me distract people by coming and having a meeting with me in Alaska?
Yeah.
This is, I mean, I would guess it's just as bad, really, because, I mean, war criminal, I mean, we saw the war crimes that you're doing, and Putin needs to get arrested technically on U.S. soil.
Should be.
I just like to mention that it's never Vlad. Vlad is shorthand for Vladislav. For Vladimir, it's Vova.
Ah, right.
It's a thing.
That's I only refer to him as Vova.
Because little Vovachka is a kind of a he figures a lot in Soviet political jokes, which people tend to love. I read about lecture on these Harvard ones, but yeah, Vovachka is a better name for him, not Vlad. Vlad is too respectful, I'd say.
Vovachka is too cute. I'd be like, Vovka is probably better.
Most Americans wouldn't know that Vova is the proper use there.
No, it almost sounds like you're calling him a little pussy.
I used to get it far too smart for Americans.
I used to get attacked by Vatniks all the time for calling him Vova. Show respect. That's the president of Russia. Screw you.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, we have a question as well from They Exist. The question is, does Kremlin try to impress and gain immoral nations for weapons support by offering child slaves? I want these nations named, like Saudis or who else?
My impression is that this is for domestic Russians. I don't think they're putting these kids on the open global market. I mean, I wouldn't put it past them. But because of the demographic problems that Russia has, I would be surprised if they'd send these kids outside of the Russian Federation. I think they literally want them as breeding stock. And I know that's a horrible thing to say, but, they have a massive demographics problem. They need more people. And so I don't see them putting these children out to kind of the global market, but who knows with these people? They're so twisted.
Yeah.
Sick.
No,
Totally.
but Qatar is doing something with the children as well. I know a couple of children returned after Qatar had negotiated with Russia and returned a couple of children to Ukraine. Remember that was...
Well, money above all other things. So, who knows?
No. Saudis, what they just get from Russia, it's like very cheap oil.
Oh, yeah.
But
the mods are going to start looking for questions that'll be more geared towards Chris if we want to shift our thing around there, Slavie, and you know where to drive again, so keep your hand on the wheel.
If you want to ask me, while there are questions incoming, I literally prepared for this. I have quite a lot of interesting Vatnik comments on the situation and everything, and people from the ground and soldiers that I can also just talk about while you're gathering all this stuff.
Cool.
If you want to.
Well, Slavie's got some stuff ready as well, so I'm pretty sure she knows where we're going to start and go.
Sorry, I lost my... Okay, yeah, I'm here now. So this is a question for you, Chris. If Russia walks away with land and legitimacy, what's the immediate security fallout for NATO's eastern flank? And which European countries would be on the front line next?
If they were to succeed, well, of course, my own Baltics, Poland, definitely, and but here in NATO, that really depends if he's even gonna do something there. I think definitely Moldova, Romania. That Moldova is in the worst position outside of every country ever. That's definitely gonna go. They're gonna try to do something there. It's all about restoring this. Ruski mir, all the Russian world, and they're going to focus on that. Us in the Baltics, I sort of, I've been hearing a lot about my own country in the news lately. However, there's one little thing that makes me feel somewhat better than usual, is that recently on Channel 1, they had a poll about whether or not Russia should actually invade the Baltics. And over there, their answers, like the answer that get the most votes from the people is 73%, with the answer that no, we do not need an internal enemy. Basically, because of their own propaganda and everything. Well, they know that we don't like them here, so they're not enjoying this at all. But it's definitely us. But we've been preparing for this for a while now. I mean, we had been telling everyone in the West about how they should take Putin and Putin's threats seriously, basically forever. But previously, before all this, we just got called paranoid, and that we're too emotional and all this nonsense. So, yeah, I can tell you that we definitely are preparing on everything. And well, as you know, we're also sending a lot of stuff to Ukraine, because right now, look, everyone here in the Baltics understands that our fight for our own independence and for our own survival is happening right now in Ukraine.
Damn right.
And for example, one of the things that we do is that every time I've visited the front lines to do reporting, we have a program here where if you're DUI, if you're drunk driving, because we're a small nation and everything, but if you do drunk driving, then your car gets confiscated and donated to Ukraine, straight up. And I've been using those cars. I've been using those cars to go to Ukraine, and then I do my journalism stuff there, do reporting, and well, on my way back, I drop it in an unspecified army base near Lviv. So.
Well, Chris, since you're kind of an expert on Soviet Union history, when you look at today's Russia, corruption and imperial overreach, propaganda, what echoes most from the Soviet Union final decade?
Well, that's the stagnation part, definitely. But overall, it's not just the Soviet Union, to be honest. It goes throughout there, and I like to. My next episode is going to be about this, but to understand how Russia works and why it's not a modern country. Because I have 2 master's degrees, one in history, and specializing in Cold War Soviet Union, and another one in political philosophy. So the idea is that it's not a modern nation state in the sense that every other nation state is. It's more like when they say that they're the third Rome, you should probably be taking them seriously, because Russia makes more sense if you look at it through a religious aspect. Because how the Russian Orthodox Church works, which also explains why, for example, Putin says that everyone else will die, but they'll go to heaven, and the famous saying that you can't understand Russia with your mind. And they take it very seriously, like extremely seriously, and to the point where that borders on outright heresy. And I'll just read a quote, which because my next episode is going to be explaining this in detail, because I also feel like when people try to apply standard game theory to analysis, if they don't take this into account, they can make worse predictions and assumptions. But here is something from one Vladimir Kvachkov, who's a Girkin's buddy. He's an ex-KGB colonel, and he's also written the manifesto of the Russian world. He's utterly insane. I have translated the manifesto, but here he has he writes about Orthodox Christian socialism, and everyone's going to live in derevnyas. And this is what these people who actually, organize and are volunteers and gather stuff for Russian army actually believe. And he has his Vatnik posts about politics, about how Ukrainians are the devil, how Latvians are fascists, the usual. But then he recently, on the Stalin's death day, he wrote a prayer to Stalin in heaven. I don't even know who that offends more, but here's his most. Here is his
God.
Yes, but I'll keep that for my own episode. But here is his most recent prayer for Russia's victory in war, because he feels like Putin is incompetent, because he should be genociding more. Quote here. I think this might offend some people, but I tend to use this in the episode to maybe reach out to some more conservative guys. Quote, from the prayer of Vladimir, in brackets, Kvachkov, a warrior of Christ. Pray to God, all saints who have shone forth in the Russian land, and all saints of the Lord. Pray to the Lord in heaven, all Russian Orthodox and Soviet people who have given their souls for their friends and laid down their lives for the faith and the fatherland. And together with us, pray to God for the preservation of the Christian faith, destruction of the United States and Ukraine, and holy Russia on Russian soil and in our souls. Then he notes, bow to the waist. Pray to the Lord for the restoration of the Russian Orthodox Soviet Empire and the throne for the future autocratic sovereign. Bow to the waist. Pray to the Lord for the renaissance of Moscow, the third Rome on earth, for the establishment and confirmation in Russia and in the world of the truly one, actually holy, not the heretical with the anti-pope on top, who is actually a devil worshipper, and apostolic church, the Moscow Universal Orthodox Church of Christ. Bow to the waist. Pray to God for the preservation and salvation of the God-bearing triune people of Russia, which is why they want to, treat this stuff, and all Orthodox Christians in Russia and all Christians on earth. Pray to God, brackets, cross-side with 2 fingers, bow to the ground. Pray to God, in brackets, cross-side with 3 fingers, bow to the ground.
Holy
This is what they
fuck.
actually believe. This is what Russia's ideology is all about. I mean, Patriarch Kirill, he's actually, he used to be called, Colonel Gundyayev. He was a KGB colonel who got sent in the Orthodox Church to take it over and control it from inside during the Soviet era. And he's been pushing this. Interestingly enough, this ideology was taught to Putin by none other than Alexei Solzhenitsyn, because, he was anti-Soviet, but he was also a very orthodox imperialist who literally pushed this idea of Putin being this divine ruler. For them, in the religious aspect, Putin is like analogous to the Pope, because they compare themselves to Byzantium. For them, Putin is the Pope, and the God's promised land literally is the Russian Empire. So for them, this is why they act illogically, because for them, it's a religious matter. And I'm going to be doing this in the next episode. And this just mixes together with the Soviet era, is in so much in the latter years, especially since it's kind of like showing off, because this is what the hardliners believe, what Putin himself, in his weird mind also believes. But the average Russian is just, he shows off that his support, and especially people in Moscow, because don't mistake Moscow and St. Petersburg for the rest of Russia. It's 2 totally different things. And these people, well, they just want to make more money, because with all the contracts and everything. Even now, these people are just coming in because they're 55 and everything. But this is also why Russia changed their tune in the 9th of May, the Victory Day. Because I remember when, because I'm a Latvian, and one of my grandpas fought in the Red Army, other one was conscripted by the Wehrmacht. Typical fate for us in the Baltics. Everyone stomped all over us. And that they used to come together and always drink vodka and say that if any of them had the chance to join the Allies, they would. None of them had the choice, and they were just drinking vodka and saying the most important thing is that there would be no war. My grandma also said this, and there was this "Главное, чтобы не было войны," this attitude there. And then at one point they changed to "Можем повторить." We can repeat this. And if you think about this from this religious aspect, what can they repeat? Well, they're not celebrating any. They're not it's not a memorial service. It's a celebration of Russian Empire, the sacred empire at its greatest extent, which is why they deify Stalin by military victory. Because Putin and his ideology and all of this, he thinks Hitler made 2 mistakes. He didn't kill enough Jews, and he attacked Russia. Everything else was fine, basically. That is literally how it works. And this is also because of this whole aspect. Russia has no civic identity, Russian people, at all. They don't know how democracy works. They don't have this together. For the whole idea of self-sacrifice for a greater Russia is what's being pushed towards them. So if you look at this aspect, understand it more. And in late Soviet period, well, that's how it should be in paper. But from the late Soviet period comes insane amounts of corruption. Russia does not have corruption. All of Russia's economy is corruption-based. You can buy and sell everything, and well, if you try to not be corrupt, then you'll probably be thrown in prison or worse. So you can just presume that this is happening. The standard schematics, by the way, how this is happening from the Soviet era there, which I want to get to is, well, basically, Russia treats everything else outside of Moscow and St. Petersburg as their colonies. They have like sent in viceroys, and also take note, like in the United States, different states have different companies. Like Boeing is in Washington, and stuff like that. In Russia, 95% of all businesses are registered and pay taxes in Moscow, which means, you pump oil in Siberia. The locals don't see anything of that. The Tatars who live there. And then Moscow gives loans to these people and sends them, viceroys who are allowed to enrich themselves by basically embezzling as much money as they can. And, well, it's kind of like from Putin's gang days. Everyone is complacent into the crime, so everyone can be put into prison. And well, that also happened in the late Soviet era, pretty much, because people were just tired of all this totalitarianism and pointlessness, and Afghanistan war was going on. Yeah, currently, there's going to be a lot of disillusionment because I don't see them functioning normally any time soon. This whole
two quick things about that. Two quick things that I would jump in there. Firstly, if you want to see a depiction. And I'm still stunned that this got released on the global stage. There's a 2014 Russian movie called Leviathan. And I highly recommend people to watch it to get an understanding of how this corruption isn't separate from the system. It is the system. So I check it out. Leviathan 2014, Russian with... I don't know if there's a dub version or not, but it's a really grim look into Putin's Russia. And then secondly, one of the other things about Kirill that I find interesting is that, and this plays into this idea of the third Rome, which we cannot overlook. Moscow really thinks that it is the inheritor of Rome. First you have Rome in Italy, then you have Constantinople, and then the Russians believe that the third Rome, the legacy of Rome, will be in Moscow, and that's a huge part of their mentality. But the other thing that I spoke with a priest here from the Ukrainian Orthodox Church, and he drew out the point that not only is Kirill an ex-KGB agent and all the rest of it, but that his intent is to become an Orthodox Pope, which, if you understand the structure of international orthodoxy, is anathema to what orthodoxy is. Orthodox churches are supposed to be of their people. So you can petition to have your own, you can have your own patriarchy. I believe the Georgians have their own patriarchy. I think the Serbs do. There's a number. The Greek. But what Kirill would like to be is an Orthodox Pope, which would have dominion over all other patriarchies. And this is completely anathema to the way that the Orthodox Church functions, because again, it's supposed to be close to the community. And what Kirill is petitioning to become, it's widely seen here in Ukraine, is a pope, an Orthodox pope who would have control over all the other patriarchies. And it's just this lust for power, this constant lust for power.
I mean, he's so egoistical that not only the big army temple, which is its own heresy, because
oh my god,
if you put Hitler's cap in the relic corner, then that's horribly wrong. But I remember that when he decided he got a bunch of money from Putin to build a third, like he wanted to do a park with like a bunch of statues with the most important patriarchs the Russian Orthodox Church has had, like a bunch of them. The only one that he built and the first one that he set up was the statue of himself there.
Sounds about right.
Well, since we're talking about inside the Russian system, you had an episode in the Spiral of Death, which, by the way, you have great names for your episodes. But you argued that repression breeds instability, which stress indicators economic, regional, or military are flashing brightest right now?
Oh, I think brutal racism first, because of they have these issues with the fact that they again lack their own numbers. They're dying a lot in droves, and well, Russia has this tendency that, for example, all of Chechnya and that region, like with Kadyrov, he runs his own little empire. But there are a lot of, for example, Muslim people in Moscow, and Moscow is huge. It's about the size of New York, with millions of Muslims living there. And they only have, I think, 3 mosques all over that place. It's horrible. And like they also have these druzhinas. Girkin's buddies organize them, which is why I cover this, because they prepare for this unspecified hour X when they're going to have to like take over power after Putin, which they think he's going to fall. But the idea is that these guys who form these nationalistic far-right militias, when they see on the news that some teenager who's Azerbaijani by origin or some other minority in Russia who has done some crime, they literally went to his school, got him out and like beat him up and made him apologize on camera. There's a lot of racism going on with organized crime. Secondly, of course, what these guys don't talk about is insane levels of criminality from the returning guys from the special military organization. We already saw that there is an organized crime done with an FPV drone where a mob in, I think, Krasnoyarsk region ordered a hit on a farmer who refused to give up his land, and it was done via an FPV drone with explosive on it. They're going to have the same thing as after the Second Chechen War and all this stuff. That's another point of tension. And finally, the whole system is so corrupt, so ridiculously corrupt that, the biggest issue that Putin has is that he thinks they're winning. Putin thinks that Russia is doing okay, that they have no casualties, that nothing's happening because of systematic lies, because everyone lies to everyone above, and nothing gets reported as is. So at this point, Putin has become totally devolved. He truly believes Russia is doing smoothly and everything's going fine, which is why also he's arresting these Girkin's buddies who want Russia to win, because he prohibited his units, like Ukrainians, when the Ukrainians can request aid from people freely, and then they do these video reports, thanks to everything. Yeah, if you do that in Russian army, you get disciplined by your officer, even sent off, because everything is fine. We don't lack anything at all. So Putin thinks he's winning, which is why he's extra arrogant. Meanwhile, to the point of this, about the crisis and the real situation, and why, because the reality has gone so far, ridiculously. Because that I want to give you an example. Because recently I think this was on the channel of one Yurievich, who's the biggest tactical medicine expert. He does courses for Vatniks on tactical medicine. He actually trains these soldiers. Is very much an activist. He fights on the front lines himself in the Kursk region. He's also a believer of exactly the same ideology of ultra-national orthodox socialism with serfdom, and now he's gathering stuff for Morpiechi, for the Marines, for the trained units, actual armies, actual things. And here's a list of what they're requesting. I mean, you know what Ukraine usually requests, what Ukrainian soldiers usually request. It's drones, it's specific equipment and everything. And now I'm gonna read you the full list. They have these, Morpiechi, a specialized unit, the elite. This is the elite of the Russian army, not like the standard ones. And then there's going to be the tankers of the 39th Brigade after that. Let me read you this. I'll provide links afterwards. Quote, urgent collection. They need enduro type motorcycle, all this stuff. That's good, but they need also canisters, barrels for water and petrol, ropes, sapper hooks, a couple of files for sharpening chains of the petrol saw, large, strong black rubbish bags for the 200s. 200 is army slang for dead people. Underwear and socks, wet wipes or towels, ordinary adhesive tape, reinforced adhesive tape, utility bags, construction bags. A bow, if possible, when they shoot with a bow on drones. Chocolate energy bars, nuts, liquid baby food and Tetra Packs, energy drinks if possible, sodas if possible, sleeping bags, foam sleeping mat. This is for, Morpiechi, their Marines, their elite trained troops. This is what they're requesting from the people because their army can't give it to them. Because all of that's been blatantly stolen by people, who run this stuff. And for tankers of the 39th Brigade, rubber boots, 5 pairs, sizes 41, 43, 3 pairs, sizes 44, 45. Rear wheel, 17-inch radius. Front wheel, wet wipes, audio cassettes, pocket T-sets, summer socks, powder fire extinguishers, dry shower, metal for trunk protection, fittings, 20-liter water canisters, any sleeping bags, covering film, axes, 2 pieces, shovels, 5 pieces, work gloves, portable gas stoves, kettles, metal pots, fishing nets, raincoats, notepads, pens, anything and everything, any spare parts for any repairs whatsoever. Also, church utensils, icons, wet wipes, respirators. And that's missing out all the tactical first aid kits, all the stuff that they need. They also gather stuff like for cars, black polyethylene film, all this mess. All this stuff is basically urgent besides all the regular other things, so that you can see the amount of how much effort they put into supplying their own people. So yeah, the situation is nowhere near as good as Putin thinks he is, because for reporting this openly, not through these Vatnik channels, they will literally go to prison or be sent to meat assaults. And that happens.
So on that note, because I have a question that will be good right there. You've tracked pro-war influencers turning on the Kremlin, correct?
Yep.
Okay, does that shift have any effect beyond noise?
Well, currently, Pavel Gubarev is the biggest one, because Pavel Gubarev was there when everything went organized. And these people, because also I read the effect on actual soldiers in the front lines, because, for example, there's an infamous guy called Trinacity, or the 13th. He's legitimately the biggest scumbag ever. And these people, yeah, they don't see the point. They also are complaining constantly that right now everyone who's ideological, as they call them, they've stopped coming and signing these contracts. Now only people with, low moral qualities, as they name them, join the army. And the effect on morale is the fact that people are on the front lines tired. They at this point, we've also spotted that everyone who's about to go into this meat assault offensives and everything, these guys are they have been cases of them refusing their orders and trying to sneak around. We have not seen any kind of people shooting their own officers. However, another effect of all of this is that people who are actually good at something, who have received training, they also get sent to meat assaults to die in brutal idiocy, simply because, they can't, they're too dangerous, they're competent. Also, another effect is, of course, massive hepatitis C and HIV epidemic that's going on the front and the Russian side because of lack of healthcare. The combat ability, Russia basically only thing that they can fight this is these brutal assaults of waves of infantry, which also happen because due to misrepresentation, this is the most popular complaint of fighting under credit. So, one commander sends some troops to take some sort of small village, random village, but he writes in the report that the village has been taken, even though all of his soldiers have died. But later, when some checkup comes, he actually has to take the village with like 2 people living in it. So he basically drags about, and he can't call artillery support there because on paper he's already taken the village. So he can't call for artillery support. He can't call for drones because then he'll get into trouble, and his superior will get into trouble. So the only thing they can do is do massive meat assaults, just grind down and pay horrible price on all of this. Right now, Russians are losing more per month than they lost during the whole Afghanistan war in all of 10 years, like basically in sheer casualty numbers. So the situation on the ground, they will run out of men eventually, and with their economic woes, I don't think that they'll be able to keep this up for much longer. But that's my theory. I really think that I think that troubles will start once Ramzan Kadyrov finally kicks the bucket. I hate that bastard personally. He's tried to kill me. So I think that's going to be it. But on the ground, these Vatniks, they think that these disillusioned soldiers, because they know the morale is low, they think that these disillusioned soldiers, if this truce would happen or freezing of the front lines, that they will be able to mobilize them and then overthrow Putin's regime and get into power to prepare for the next war with NATO, which they obviously always look forward to. But I don't think that's really going to happen because, morale is low. People with any brain cells whatsoever don't want to join the army. Because again, utter corruption all over the place, and documented one of that.
See, the problem is there because Russia is in wartime economy. There's literally no other way to make money other than to go to the front. That's all what they can do, or make the missiles. But it's all what they can do. And the women, all what they can do is marry an orc that goes to the front, and then hopefully he dies, and then they get the money. that's the main way to kind of survive
Well,
Russia. These things
Another
that work on the
thing,
economy.
we recently had first female casualties who signed contracts too, which is just excellent and great. It's just horrific with all this stuff. But yeah, in Russia, it's because of utter depression outside of Moscow, which is why they also use these very depressive regions. And well, these regions have no other work because your only career opportunity really is going to the army. Because again, like unless you work in resource extraction, then all small businesses are basically under heavy pressure or have to pay bribes all the time. There is no work basically because again, those appointed viceroys, those corrupt people whom Putin has appointed there, how they basically embezzle money is that they arrive to their assigned, republic or district of Russia, and then over there, what they do is they look at some company that export, like a factory or whatever, and then they just send in false checks and threaten the owners with legal action until they can buy it off for themselves for extra cheap. Then they go to Sberbank and take a massive loan, mortgaging everything in that factory, not caring about anyone who works in that village. And then Sberbank greatly gives a massive loan for state money. The loan will be written off later, so basically embezzling from budget. And then Sberbank officer steals that stuff and sells it for scrap metal. Work like all jobs in cities outside there, yeah, pretty much destroyed, and their economy is really getting worse, and it's getting bad since. At this point, literally every automotive company, which Rostelmash, which makes tractors and tanks, Kamaz, AvtoVaz, all these companies, all of them basically have moved to a 4-week workday because they can't sell their trucks and anything. All of them, all of Russia's heavy is doing this, and they're not helping the front at all. Their economy is in shambles because you can't really push through these reforms because once they run out of money, because that's the only way. Then real issues will start. I highly recommend to those, which is a little criticism of me on Western stuff, there's a highly respected Moscow like Professor Igor Lipsitz. He used to be, he's now just a Jewish citizen. He moved to Lithuania and renounced his Russian citizenship. But he's not well known in English-speaking media because, well, he speaks in 4 languages, Italian, German, Spanish, and Russian, of course, but he publishes in Russian and these languages. So he's a frequent guest on Dmitry Gordon's channel and other places like that, and all over the region, but not mentioned in English-speaking media. And he speaks about all these economic woes constantly about how this is happening. He's a bit more. He says that basically what Russia is doing right now is just only basically doing war Keynesianism, as it's called. They're just pumping in money from their welfare funds into the army. And then people just embezzle it because they don't believe in, like, there are ideological people, those volunteers, but the average officer in the Russian army, he just wants to get rich and, get away with this scot-free, which, by the way, also explains why this army base was built next in Finland. Because Putin thinks everything is doing fine. He probably isn't even informed that they removed basically all of their anti-air defenses from the Finnish border. And some officer decided that it would be a nice time to embezzle insane amounts of money. So let's build another barracks there. I bet these barracks only look nice from the top, like they look nice with the carcass there and everything. And then he just puts money in there because building new barracks for troops to sit in without any air defense, which we obviously know Russia lacks and has issues with. Yeah, that's a problem. Another problem, which really shows what affects the front, is how FPV drones work. As we know, drones are like one of the biggest main tools of war. I fly them personally as well. I learned about them in Ukraine.
Well, hold on. Before we get into drones, I kind of want to go.
That was an example about the economy thing really quick. But okay, fine. I'll do this later. I'm sorry. I'm just nervous.
No, there's one other thing about that whole economic atmosphere that you're describing there, Chris. Is I did an interview with a Russian exiled author once about a month ago, and she of course stays in touch with her friends and family back in the Russian Federation, and she made the point to me that, like has happened in Russia's history before, there is a sense that we're never going back, that things are never going to return to what they were prior to the war. And so grab everything that isn't nailed down now, because you don't know what tomorrow will bring, but it certainly is not going to be what it was before or what it is currently.
Yeah.
So there is this attitude of, we know that this era in Russian history has ended. We don't know what the next era is going to be. So if you can get it now, before the shoe drops. So I totally think that attitude that you're describing is spot on.
It's because they know that every time that something similar has happened, which is another thing that these Vikings draw attention to, these influencers, is that this reminds them of the First World War in the 1917, and they're very worried about that. Another thing, by the way, is that these guys all also believe, because of the glorification of the Soviet Union, they all believe that actually USSR only collapsed because of evil plot by the CIA, which is funny all by itself. So they always look for these weird excuses. That episode that you mentioned, by the way, that you looked at this, it's a fun aspect because then you can see a true Russian believer who sincerely believes that everyone in the West is literally making drugs from baby blood. And that's not an exaggeration or a joke. It's a literal quote.
I haven't done that in weeks.
Weeks? Oh, man. Yeah, man, it's hard to quit. But basically...
Reminds me of Charlie Sheen with Tiger Blood.
When they're not having homosexual orgies.
This is just this is their kind of moment where incompetence over there has reached such a level. Recently, I want to find this one. Recently, one of the, because they also publish letters from the front where the soldiers complain to them who read all this stuff. And recently, there was a thing where people complained that they had trained for their own money and resources with the help of these Vatniks 10 new drone operators for the Russian army. Again, the drones are really important. We'll get to that later. They trained 10 new specialists because Russian army really lacks those. And what happened was that they decided to be competent and did not pay half of their salary to their commanding officer. So, well, the commanding officer just didn't care about the fact that they have skills, that they could be useful. He just, gave them guns and sent them, as usual, in these little small groups to die. Excellent.
Oh, wow.
35% of all personnel in Russia's strategic rocket forces also have been sent in meat assaults. So, yeah, that too. Amazing. Just the levels of weird, like Russia functions there because one, they're used to this sort of nonsense. After all, they're used to these levels of corruption. That's one, and two, it's because the Soviet legacy, the Soviet base that they had, is just so huge that they can somehow manage to pull it off. But those resources, they're also not eternal after all.
No, they're not. We do have a lot of questions coming in from our viewers. So let's get to that.
I can respond in shorter versions too. It's just that it's my very first YouTube live stream thing. And I don't know.
You're doing great. You have a lot of information. It's just
we got about 20 minutes-ish as we sit now. So you don't want to
very quick.
Yeah. You'll need a slightly shorter answer so we can get enough viewer questions in, I think would be our target here.
Sorry, guys.
No. You're fine. We just got to make sure that we do get some in.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, Slavie, 1 sec. Before you start, let me catch up on a few super chat shout outs and stuff here.
I have a couple as well.
So. Okay, perfect. So we'll start with a little applause here and we'll hit the fireworks for a second, just so everybody's all feeling nice about things. Whitefishy1 came in with a $25 super chat there for the Shills Car for Ukraine Truck Fund in solidarity with Ukraine from Canada. Good shout. Petra Olsen came in with 269 Swedish kroners with love to Ukraine, and with love it goes right into the fund. Tyler Dowdy came in with a $5 super chat as well. Can Ukraine put an air defense system in Alaska before the meeting? That'd probably end the war quicker. That's a really good one, if only. They exist comes in with a super chat as well. Rumor has it Ukrainians entering Bryansk today. I'm not sure. Let's
what was that?
Sorry?
What was that?
Rumor has it Ukrainians entering Bryansk today.
Could be.
I'd have to look a bit more.
I haven't heard anything about it, and I think if they were, we would have.
Yeah, I mean, Yeah, yeah.
I'll check.
Big deal.
I'll quickly check.
Cool. Okay. And then we had Yvonne Way with a super chat message here as well. When will Orange Boy there get some balls and tell Putin to fuck right off? I don't think he's got the balls to do that. I don't think he holds the cards to speak in Trumpisms either.
We're
He's
close
compromised.
last week.
He's compromised. He
Yeah.
is 100% compromised.
Yeah.
And I'll make this very, very quick. I have been going to wars for over 25 years. The people who I knew at the beginning of my career, who were captains and majors and lieutenant colonels, they are now at high positions in a number of different intelligence and security apparatus in Washington, D.C., in London, wherever. I've had conversations with people who say, well, we cannot do anything about this because you do not want to take a shot at the king if you can't kill the king. But that man is compromised. There is not a single doubt in my mind, and I have spoken to enough people within the American intelligence and security apparatus, both governmental and private, who are unequivocal in their belief that the Putin's got something on it.
Yeah.
He's never going to stand up against Putin. He is compromised. Things change. Obviously, the world spins and relationships change and situations change. He's going to give Putin whatever he wants, and Putin's going to lead him around by the nose in Alaska. It's just,
I agree. One last donation shout out here, and we'll turn to Slavie's as well. And we had one direct Ko-Fi donation there from ATV and Ham, $5 direct in. Slavie, Ukraine is the message, and we definitely agree with the message. And Slavie, you've got some as well, right?
Yes. Have a super chat from SSW Custom. He really wants to see for us to have Vita from Think Ukraine as a guest.
Yes. A list is being made and contacts are being reached out to.
Then I have a super chat from You Know They Exist. I'm not sure I understand this one. Maybe you guys can decipher it for me. Saying Slavie SC working today? ? And then in brackets, yes, sometimes.
I'm not sure.
Yes, sometimes, I guess. Yep. And that wraps it up. Thank you so much, guys, for all your super chats.
Indeed. We just had Kathy and Brent Irvine come in with a $10 super chat there. There's no message to it. So just, tag the Shills account or whatever, and we'll get a shout out in for you coming up as well here. I do believe I'm caught up. Okay. All right. So yes, back to some questions. Then we go.
All right. Lots of viewer questions coming in. Question from Broadcast Cat to the panel. Will Europe turn away from the US even more for this meeting?
It's an absolute, it has to, that's the only way it can end, isn't it, Commander? Right?
You need to ask that question in the past tense. Has Europe already? Because they have. And it's entirely attributable to Trump.
Right.
They are beginning to realize that the United States is not a country you can depend on in a crisis. So we're already seeing moves to form a separate collective security alliance in Europe that does not include the United States. Curiously, it does still include Canada.
I was just going to say, we're available. I'm sure you guys have the numbers. So,
And while we're really focused on Trump and what's happening in the United States, the world order is shifting. And United States is not it. You have all these deals going on, and the United States is not involved in it, despite what Trump or the administration tells us. Well, this week we made this deal and that deal. Yeah, the weapons that Europe is buying, they're buying within each other. It's not from United States anymore, unless Ukraine needs them for some special ones.
Yeah.
So, and Europe, like Commander said, its own alliance.
Yeah. Yeah, well, Canadians have always felt that we had some European flair, so we deserve to be there.
You definitely do, because I know everyone in Canadian embassy listens to my podcast, and I know that the lady who was the chief of the mission, a Canadian mission in the Baltics, she also is a fan. I've spoken with her quite a few times. We've discussed this about, because like everyone here thinks Canada is cool, so
Yeah.
because we're for example, we're over here in Latvia, our number one sport is, guess what? Hockey. Yes, we're not a soccer country.
Yeah.
But note, I've also been interviewed because of this on some sort of Vancouver local media because of Shills, and then one random Reddit post. That was a weird thing. But security stuff. Well, let's just say that I keep my savings in the Rheinmetall stock.
That's funny.
And given Canadians' military history, you really don't want to mess with the Canucks. Look up what they did in World War I and World War II.
Yeah.
You don't want to fight with the Canadians. They fight dirty.
Yeah.
Lovely people, but you either put a rifle or a hockey stick in their hand and they change.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we fight to win, and we want to do it quickly because Hockey Night in Canada is coming on the telly, you know?
I'd say Canada takes its World War I and World II history very seriously, because I went to high school in Canada, and we knew our shit. Like, they really learned that history of what Canada did during the wars. So...
Yeah,
Canadians were essentially used as the shock troops for the Commonwealth forces.
Mm-hmm.
They were that good.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, I will give you a link to one of the Vatnik channels, because this Alex Parker Returns guy, yeah, he lives in Canada and is super pro Putin and posts in Russian, and he hides his identity because he's afraid he'll be caught by the police there and prosecuted.
Wow.
So I'll just copy a link to his channel and drop it in the panel chat so that you can check it out on Telegram later. Maybe you should give it to the authorities, because he's quite active in a lot of stuff there.
Oh, I got a quick reminder for everybody watching here. I will be joining Rick and a couple of guests, Rick the Ukrainian, who's in the live chat right now. Everybody say hello to Rick the Ukrainian, one of the great fundraisers of the game. And I'll be joining him tomorrow for a chat. I think it's around noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, but it could be a little earlier than that. Rick will sort the time out there, but yeah, check it out. Make sure you join us.
All right. Well, next question is for the panel from It Wasn't Me, saying, unfortunately, Germany didn't listen to the Baltics regarding Nord Stream. How do the Baltics see Germany today?
Well, actually, not that bad. Germany is okay. Like, Germany's fine completely, but we have bigger problems to worry than Germany. There's sometimes, they will always be the way that they are, and it's fine. But again, we have other problems with this. We really like the new chancellor there. We consider Merz to be finally competent. We weren't fans of the previous government for, well, obvious reasons there.
But the AfD, even though they lost, they're still the second largest party in Germany.
Yeah, they are, but hey, they are better than the alternatives that they have there. So at least that's good. But otherwise, I don't know. With Germany, we're not thinking that much about Germany because we live right next to Russia, after all. So that's our main concern here. Germany doesn't really figure in the news cycle here as much, really.
Maybe Volkswagen release a new car.
I guess, yeah. Like, look, I'm now getting my own driver's license because, previously I drove to Ukraine with my German friends, but I'm learning on a Volkswagen, a diesel one, no less. So that's just the default thing.
Yeah.
It's kind of different. Currently, yeah, Germany. Well, again, we used to we had like 700 years of Germans ruling over us, all the Baltic German stuff after the Northern Crusade. We used to really, really dislike them, but then the Soviets came, and now we now we have other priorities.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, of course, everyone drives manual here. So yeah, answering to White Fish Fi, he tagged me there on the chat.
Oh yeah. All right.
One of the first times I ever got yelled at for speaking Russian to a person was in Latvia. I wanted to buy a chicken sandwich, and she refused to sell it to me because she didn't speak English. I didn't speak Latvian. We had Russian in common, but she refused to sell me a chicken sandwich, so I had to leave the kiosk.
No sandwich for you. That's like.
Look, I will tell you a trick, because I've been traveling around all of post-Soviet sphere. What you do is you start your sentence with, "Hi, I'm from Ukraine," and then you carry on. This is how I do it in Lithuania. I tell them, "Hello, I'm from Riga. Sorry, I don't speak Lithuanian," and then I switch to Russian. Then it's all fine.
That's like Americans sewing Canadian flags on their backpacks when they're doing the whole thing before university in Europe.
No, about language and speaking Russian, I did come by this very interesting point. And they said, as long as the former Soviet states keep speaking Russian, Russia will keep coming with their imperialism. Start speaking your own language, because you're using that excuse. I thought it was really interesting. So
see, the thing is that I was born in the USSR. I'm going to turn 36 now, but many people who are younger than me in that generation, they no longer speak Russian at all. For them, it's just another language. It's of course it's taught in schools. Like it's one of the languages that you can pick. In a way, we had this. Unlike in Ukraine, where they're trying to convert and they treat you all as Russians through propaganda means. For us, there's only about 2 million of us. So for us, it was a bit more brutal in a way that we just got physically colonized in that sense, and quite a lot of us got deported. So that's the difference. Actually, our language and here in the Baltics exists, and we managed to survive only because of the fact that Russians treat Ukrainians as fellow Russians. They push on this fact that Ukrainians are actually Russians. And they live by it. So to Russify us, they sent here a lot of Ukrainians and Belarusians who actually learned our language and were okay. So that really helped us. So we managed to survive that way. Just to saying, but we now are focusing on this with our language and everything, because again, for us it's a matter of literal survival, just the same as everywhere else. We all know this stuff. So
Rick the Ukrainian is in the chat right now. Fucking exactly. Speak your country's language and not that Russian shit. Yeah, exactly.
At least you don't have to do what they did with Ireland.
Yeah.
No, seriously, shortly after the Irish gained partial independence, the Irish language was so bad in terms of the number of speakers. Eamon de Valera, who was the first president, outlawed the speaking of Irish because he knew the Irish were such contrarians. That was the only way he could get Irish people to learn their own language.
Wow.
Look, and this is also what happens in Belarus today. I mean, Lukashenko is the only leader of a country that I know whose whole modus operandi is to destroy his own heritage. I mean, they still have KGB there and everything, and like using that language is seen as subversive, and they also can't use their own national symbols at all. It is just so bizarre, and it's this whole idea. But in a way, I wanted to do a quick comment because which I stayed in my head since the question before. In a way, I have to say that Soviet Union was a more functional state than Russia today. At least it had laws and a system, and its laws were tyrannical and awful, but at least they were there. Like, I hate to say this as a Soviet historian, but it's even Soviet Union had, like, think about this. Currently, conviction rate in Russia's courts today is higher than the one during Stalin's era, during the purge.
Wow.
Yeah.
How can that even be possible?
Yeah, really.
You have to plead guilty.
Yeah.
It's no, seriously, it's considered an insult to the court. If you,
in Stalin's that it was like 96%, and now it's 98.1%.
98.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's just
So
so
that's only the ones
statistic-
that are actually going to trial.
Yeah.
yeah, that too.
You are
No.
assumed guilty. We're just going to send you straight to prison.
Yeah.
How is this?
Was it the Wall Street Journal journalist who's I'm gapping on his name, who made the mistake of pleading not guilty, and the court was like,
Oh, yeah.
send him into the deepest pit. Yeah.
Yeah.
But right now, it doesn't even work because you can just if you go to some sort of trial, first thing you can do is just sign the paper and go straight to front, and criminal conviction is just dropped, which is another nice little thing why it's not a state, because the laws just don't work.
Yeah.
I have a question for Chris and Phil as well. I'd love to hear your answer on this. How should the Western media cover war crimes like child deportations without numbing audiences or turning atrocities into background noise?
Execute them.
See, the problem with
Just have
numbing
to keep doing it. You have to just keep doing it. You have to just keep trying to get it on the radar. And it's easier said than done, but I mean, I don't think it's going to be done through activism. I don't think it's going to be done through law enforcement. I think that the press, and what is the press anymore, I'm not 100% sure, has to keep this in people's minds. You have to, and then only through public opinion and a demand from the public will the other things like law enforcement or other pressure, diplomatic or sanctions or whatever, it has to be kept in people's minds, and it's not. The press is doing a terrible job.
I don't think it's an issue of overplaying it right now. It's overplaying it once people actually become aware of the issue, because it's underplayed right now. Most people don't even have an awareness of the fact that this stuff is going on.
Yeah.
Well, the question is, most people aware, and about the whole media part. What they also don't get in the West oftentimes is the fact that that is still the Soviet mentality going on, which we try to exterminate, and I know Ukrainians too. This Homo Sovieticus in your brain, right? That whole thing, which I try to fight in my own native language as well. And for example, when I've seen worked with a lot of colleagues from the West out there as well, and when what these people don't understand is that there's still also among the soldiers on the ground there is this idea that at least in the 90s we treated West like something to be like special, and we had to be nicer to them. So I know that the translators that Ukrainian army works with, they try to censor the language, for example, and they try to underplay the issues the army has to not look too nasty, and that's a big problem. And secondly, the fact that it's not told to these people from the West, because I was on the Telegraph podcast, invited as one of those experts over there to talk about this, and a British guy who claimed to be, he had lived in Moscow for like 6 months or something, and when I told him about the situation, how the morale is going and everything, and he said that he knows better because but I did talk to these people through a translator. It's totally fine. It's just weird, and that is a certain bias as well that I've noticed, because especially when it comes to sources of the Western media, since they like to pick sources that have English translation automatically included. Like I said, no one interviews the Igor Lipsitz guy and other people. If it has an English translation, then that must be a good source. And if it doesn't, then they just don't even Google stuff up there. And also, miscommunication causes issues. Like the biggest trauma the New York Times is doing with their late weird articles, right, is the fact that the average soldier on the ground there in Ukraine, well, New York Times is a big brand that people know even through the Soviet era. And that dissolves the trust of Western media in Ukraine among the soldiers. So that's what they're doing with this stuff. And then people are And then also a bunch of people who are Western journalists, like I've gone through proper training to be a war correspondent. I have.
New York Times
okay.
has actual Russian journalists write their articles.
Yeah, like they're horrible, right? And the fact is that I have gone through proper training, been to boot camp, did a lot of work, and I know how to operate in these war zones. A lot of people who get sent there, they don't, and then they mess stuff up. I remember that in the early war, my colleagues there whom I spoke with, they told me about a Swedish journalist who decided to fire their fixer because he refused to take them right in the zone where an assault was about to happen, really. And they just fired their fixer, told them that he's like a bad dude, got angry at the Ukrainians, and just marched in. 2 weeks later, they were found in the basement, beaten up, basically.
Wow.
There is lack of communication from weird things due to various stuff, and I try to fix this.
I've been a war correspondent for 30 years. That's nothing new.
Yeah.
Well,
Phil's got stories.
Oh, well, me too. Well, actually, it's a pleasure to meet you, sir. Then you know exactly what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Our profession is quite rare these days. There are not enough of properly trained people who take this seriously,
and very few properly trained.
Well, I was hired to teach in Poland for Warsaw by Pilecki Institute in Warsaw to teach a class of war journalism for like a week lasting there. First thing I did is I went to my contacts in the Polish army. I gave them the whole kit with like the body armor, the everything, and made them run laps around so that I could like filter out the people. Out of the 60 in the first day, on second day only about 7 people arrived. With them, I worked for the whole week, and I know that they'll be ready to do stuff. But yeah, it's harder.
One of the first things I ask young journalists who I run into here in Kiev is, have you gone through heat training? Oh, yeah. Have you gone through medical, at least rudimentary medical training? Because it's not just running around dodging bullets and the romance of being a war correspondent. If somebody gets hurt, you need to be able to take care of them. Yeah. Otherwise, you become a burden to. And you would be shocked at how many people buy their body armor, buy their helmet, come on over here, and they think that's all they need.
Oh yeah, they don't observe OPSEC, those rules and everything. But I do have to give slight criticism to how Ukrainian military functions sometimes, because they tend to change their requirements often. And the process of the page and documents you have to do to get the accreditation, it's also a bit problematic, but we're working on it. I have given my information to that, which is how I, by the way, got this hat, because this comes as a gift from the Ukrainian Foreign Ministry. This is a Ukrainian Special Forces cap, which they gifted me as a help for this, because I help do this documentation. I often help other journalists from like Baltics and the rest of Europe also just to get in touch and speak this, because I have seen people who go there and they don't even have anyone who speaks either Ukrainian or Russian there. And I do the interpreting. It's a lot of work and it's hard stuff. And sadly, I could be sitting there and writing about dog shows or whatever. But I got into journalism because I'm a huge fan of Hunter S. Thompson, and I read the comic book Transmetropolitan by Warren Ellis, and Spider Jerusalem's my personal hero. I even got a tattoo of about him on here.
Yeah.
There. So sadly, I'm stuck with being a proper gonzo bastard who needs to do things right. So
one sec here, Chris. We've got our 10-minute warning here, because then that's my limit here. We're just getting close to midnight Kyiv, 2 p.m. here Pacific. So, with thoughts and wrap-ups and stuff, that might be a good portion of that. So let's try to get just 2 last quick ones in, and then do any shout-outs, and then do our goodbyes and stuff.
Sounds good. I actually have a question for Commander and Phil. Any more news regarding the foreign volunteers joining the Ukrainian army?
Still happening.
Yeah,
as far as I know.
Yeah, they're still getting people to volunteer and come in, but the numbers are going down.
Are they?
I saw this was quite recent that there's quite a large number of Latin foreign fighters coming into Ukraine.
Surprising.
That's a discussion for another. It's a discussion for another time, because it's really actually quite complicated. It gives me pause for concern, because what I am seeing is a lot of guys who are coming over here who might have connections to the cartels
Yes.
who are coming in here to learn drone technology and then take it back and use it for less than admirable purposes.
We should mark that for next week because that sounds like something. Yeah,
it's a big story, especially now that Trump is going after Maduro and Russia actually,
it's not good.
Propaganda.
It's not good, and I wish the Zelensky, but it's all hands on deck. But it makes me very, very uncomfortable to see these guys walking around town or out on the front lines, and you just wonder, are they really here for Colombia or Venezuela or take your pick, or are they here to pick up skills that
exactly
the cartels want? So worth a discussion for another time, but it gives me it's actually one of my biggest concerns right now.
I mean, it's a big discussion, very timely, but Chris, I know you wanted to tell us about drones, so got a couple of minutes.
Yeah, first of all, I still have I have a lot to say, but I'm pretty sure we'll keep in touch later on.
We'll get you on again. Don't worry about that.
About drones, see, like I said, I fly them personally as well. I learned about this stuff on the Lost drone. Normally, I trade on these little things. They're called tiny whips. They're just 75 millimeters. You can practice on them, and they have bigger ones out there as well. And I've noticed on Blue Sky as well, a lot of analysts who are like military specialists there. I've seen comments about how they don't understand the role of drones, because what you guys see from the drone perspective is the final moments before explosion, for example, or surveillance drones and everything. And they don't understand how actually cheap they are and how much they cost. Because one, like my big 5-inch FPV drone and that's buying it like fully made and everything. On average, you can build one and that's with a good camera. It's like $300 for one without like the explosive parts, and that's buying everything by retail prices, even that. And I know this because over here, like 2 blocks away from where I live, that's where some drones get built by our technical guys, because there's not a lot of us here. I've seen Baba Yaga in person there, but a lot of these drones is the fact that a drone is nimble thing. You type in FPV freestyle on YouTube and check out those videos, because there has been drone racing and everything, and this is
what some of these pilots can do controlling one of those is absolutely outstanding.
And the biggest aspect of this is that these FPV drones they're really good in urban combat, because they can actually maneuver inside windows. They can check stuff out. They have cameras attached. Of course, big scouting drones are different, but there are technical nuances. So this is generally in very short amount of time. But they formally fulfill a completely different role than rockets do. They are I think that in the future of combat, and I'm going to be talking with the commander here about this definitely sometime in the future. I think in future combat we'll see these small, low-cost drones. You're going to have a one per like a squad unit, one operator there, because they can scout, they can carry explosives. They're a multi-use thing, and they don't require a lot to operate. They can be just operated from the ground, and the fact that they get compared to some bigger bombs, like I've seen people compare FPV drones with the FAB, the Fugasny Aviaционные Bombe too, which is just 2 different beasts. And I really think that people, to understand how these things work, you can just type in FPV drone freestyle, and the technical aspects are like out there on YouTube, and check out what people can do. And Ukrainian drone operators, they practice on the same simulator, because there's only one really, the professional one, on the same simulator doing these racetrack maneuvers. They are very nimble. Of course, they can't do as much tricks with when there's explosive attached. However, what they can do with it is be really, really faster. They're much faster than the DJI drone, than those camera drones like Mavics who fly above, and they're much more nimble, and that gives them specific use. They can land down in a trench and go inside a bunker too, without problems. And this other thing is
the people who care son.
The biggest thing that I have to say is that my most apt comparison here would be that if a DJI drone, the standard camera drone, the Mavic, that's your I don't know, that's your flashy new road car. I don't know, the newest Tesla. Well, Tesla is a bad example, but like the car with all the whistles and everything, with cruise control and everything. Well, an FPV drone is basically that's a rally car. All the electronics have been taken out. It has 2 things: rugged, it's fast and it's nimble and you can do things, but it's
Yeah.
limited by your skill. Landing with it is more like crashing softly. So there's like two different factors here, and they're much cheaper. And you can, like, without the explosive, again, you can build an FPV drone that can carry explosives for about $300 each, which is not that much, and they really can be just custom made.
Yeah.
All this stuff. Yeah. So it's important that a lot of analysts who speak about drones, you really should check if they have actually studied more, because it really requires some research. Because even as a hobby, that thing only appeared in 2007. It started with like when people had the first Wii, because like the console. It's just quite young. So that's it.
We should get to our wrap ups here.
So, sorry.
No worries. No
I
worries.
must come on some other time too, because I still have.
Yeah. Well, we'll be chatting some more for sure. And we do quite a bit of this streaming stuff, especially between a couple of channels we got, right? So there's going to be time for sure. Slavie, do you want to take us around so everybody can say their goodbyes and they're all there?
Well,
yeah.
Why don't we do a U-turn and start with you, Chris? Any final thoughts that you'd like to leave us? So where can the viewers find you, or listen to your podcast? And go. You have 1 minute.
Yeah.
Okay. Basically, it's very simple. My show is called The Eastern Border. If you like to listen to it, it's on any podcast app. Just best one. Like, that's my webpage. I started out explaining Soviet history, so I used the Soviet kitsch thing. It's like there is blood on this Soviet flag, because my podcast started when I was living 10 kilometers from the Russian border on the small town Latvia. And it's on every podcast app. Now it's on YouTube also, finally, because I started paying attention here. And on YouTube, I also post some other touristy things. And also, you can sometimes read me on, like, if you just Google Kristaps Andrejsons, you'll find stuff in English about me. It's fine and nice. Otherwise, yeah, please, I'm trying to, do my stuff on YouTube, my channel. It's mostly my podcast, everything. I'm going to keep on working. And yeah, lots to speak. And I hope that I'll grow a bit. I can't advertise myself. I'm shit at this. I hate even saying like and subscribe, guys.
You're like a Canadian. We don't like saying it either, man. Trust me.
Beat somebody's skull in with a hockey stick, but you can't promote yourself.
Exactly.
Why don't we go to Commander Macmillan? Any final thoughts?
Nothing really. I think the summit with, in Alaska thing, as we've said several times, it's pure kabuki theater. But I do think we need to watch what's going on in Washington in terms of all the maneuvering that the GOP is trying to do. For example, the nonsense going on with the Texas people who are, now federal criminals who are going to be arrested by the FBI and nonsense like that.
Oh.
So we're very, I won't even say slowly, we're rapidly drifting into pure fascism over here. So we need to be very conscious of that. And as part of that, again, as I usually do, I urge everybody, communicate with your elected officials, send telegrams, letters, emails, texts, phone calls, whatever. Make sure your opinion is known. It does have an impact.
Absolutely. And don't forget pigeons and fax and pagers also work. Whatever you can get your hands on.
Smoke signals.
Yeah.
Yes. Flare guns. It's great. Phil, any final thoughts?
I second everything that the commander just said there. I think Alaska, nobody should hold out any hopes for any great developments there. I think it's kabuki theater, and as a matter of fact, it gives me cause for concern. Instead of shortening the war, I think by this show that they're holding, this theater that they're holding, that it only means the war is probably going to be extended. Obviously, I'm going to promote myself with the channel that I produce every week out of our Kiev-based studio. It's called On the Edge. You can find it on its own YouTube channel, just simply On the Edge Ukraine. Do a search for that, or on my show, or on my own personal channel, which is just Philip Ittner, which is 1 L in Philip, 2 T's in Ittner. We put it out every week, every Sunday, 8 p.m. local time. Runs about an hour. This week we talked to, as I said at the beginning of the show, we talked to a former executive officer at the Rosatom, and he is able to discuss both military and civilian aspects of how Moscow uses its nuclear capabilities to threaten, intimidate, and coerce people on a global stage. It's a fascinating conversation, which also includes a little bit of his experience as an advisor to the governor in Donetsk during the Minsk period. So I think it's a good episode, and I encourage everybody to tune in, and please share it, subscribe, and all that good stuff. As always, a great talk, everyone.
Cool.
Amazing. Guess it's my turn. Yeah, this week reminds us that while Ukraine dismantles Russia's war machine piece by piece, this stage is being set elsewhere for photo ops and hollow diplomacy. Kabuki theater, as we said. The danger isn't just in the missiles, it's in the meeting that reward the aggressor and erase the victim. But conversations like today's cut through the noise. This fight is bigger than borders. It's about the truth we defend. It's about freedoms we refuse to lose. And it's about the future we will not hand over to dictators. You're here, you're already part of that fight. So please like the streams, share them, share the news stories, leave a comment, subscribe and follow on all our channels. If you're new here, by the way, welcome. It really helps. Social currency is amazing. To everyone in the live chat, our Shills crew, our brilliant mods, and every single person supporting this mission, whether through donating to Ukrainian charities, super chats, memberships, or simply showing up week after week, thank you. You're not just watching a live stream, you're helping the truth win. And to the people of Ukraine, we see you, we stand with you, and we will not stop. So we'll see you next time right here where truth gets the last word. And of course, Slava Ukraini.
Heroam Slava.
Heroam Slava.
Good words, good words. Quick shout out here. I'll be joining Rick tomorrow, noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. Ukraine local, over on Rick the Ukrainian's channel. Today on the Shills, we had Annette on the Shills account, Shayna Caldwell, Chris Lundy, Mexi Girl, Liam Wakefield, Jose C, and Super Chat Matt. So huge shout out to everybody. And I know Chris is wanting to slide in to say a last thing before we go.
Yeah, I forgot about this, but remember I mentioned the Igor Girkin merch that I trademarked, Club of Angry Patriots stuff. Yeah, all proceeds go to Ukraine, and it's fun to mock these vatniks, so I will just post on. I posted in our panel chat and the YouTube chat. Here is the link to my store, and yeah, you can just go there and buy your own Angry Patriots hat with the mocking nice little logo and everything, and all of this will go to Ukraine. It's another way how to support this, and again, it's really fun to mock Igor Girkin. He deserves it. Fuck
Awesome. Awesome. So on that note, fellow babies, thanks for joining us, because without you guys watching, we have nobody to spread the word to. So huge shout. Thank you very much. And I'll hit the button and we will see y'all soon. Slava Ukraine.
Heroям Slava.